Perfect. All right. So I think we'll just jump in with the first one, and we'll go through them, and we'll discuss them like always. I value all your thoughts and insights. That's really the goal. So let's just jump into it. Esther, you want to read the first one?
Not really.
No, it's not. It's
Ben,
fairly easy.
not a reader.
Okay, not a reader. Fine. Stephanie, you want to read the first one?
Sure. בן זומא אומר, איזה הוא חכם הלומד מכל אדם שנאמר מכל מלמד די השכלתי כי עדותיך שיחה לי. איזה הוא גיבור הכובש את
So we'll stop with the first one. We'll yeah, so this one's basic, right? Who's a smart person, a wise man, the one who learns from everyone. So it's a basic, easy to think about, but also call Adam, every person. We learned from the homeless man. Maybe we should learn from the homeless man, right? So I think that's great. It's harder to learn from other people now with the new Zoom era. We don't even get to observe each other so often. So I think that's one of the things that's being lost. We get to see the way one another emails and stuff, and maybe the way that we post on social media. Some people do a very good job of learning from other people. All they do is they copy the same thing they post, and they post the same idea, right? But I think it's a good idea in general. You learn from everyone, and it's definitely challenging because everyone has someone that maybe they're judgmental or they think knows less than them or something like that. So, okay, great. The pasuk is a little bit interesting. The pasuk says, Mikol melamedai hiskalti. It sounds like from everyone who taught me. So that's from the teachers, obviously, right? But I guess he's saying Mikol, like everyone is my teacher, or something like that. It's a loose translation of the pasuk. All right, next one, Stephanie.
איזה הוא גיבור הכובש את יצרו שנאמר פה בערך אפיים מגיבור ומושל ברוחו מלוכד עיר.
Okay, great. So who's the strong man? The one who conquers his evil inclination, his yetzer hara, or his and like it says, tov erech apayim megibor. It's better to be slow to anger than to be strong. And someone who rules his spirit is better than someone who conquers a city. So I think we all deal with struggles with our inclination, every single kind. It could be we eat too much. It could be that we want to sleep too much. It could be that we anger quickly. It could be that we, anything like that. And so they're saying that's very, very, very valuable. That's the kind of strength that's admirable. Okay, and the last one.
איזה הוא העשיר השמח בחלקו שנאמר יגיע כפיך כי תאכל אשריך וטוב לך. אשריך בעולם הזה וטוב לך לעולם הבא.
Okay, great. Who is rich? The person who appreciates what he has. This one's easier to see, right? You could be very rich but not feel rich at all if you only want to be as rich as the next person. I think we're examples of that, right? We're pretty rich. There's people that if they looked at how much money we had, they'd say, wow, if I was that rich, then I would just sit back and chill, right? But we don't feel that way. So you realize it doesn't matter where you are, you're just going to always feel the same way. The true wealth is realizing that you are already wealthy. Once you realize that you're already wealthy, then you're wealthy. Wealthy is just a state of mind, a state of feeling wealthy. Okay, so that's great. I think that's very important. And the last one?
איזה הוא מכובד המכבד את הבריות שנאמר כי מכבדי אכבד ובוזי יקלו.
And who is the one who's respected? The one who respects others. Like it says, whoever I honor, the people that honor me, I honor. Hashem saying that. And those who spurn me will be dishonored. Okay, beautiful. So if you want to be respected, you respect others. Okay, so basic. Does anyone have anything to add on to this or something that they find interesting or relevant to it?
I'm sure you know the Rashet about Ashir. Ezeu Ashir.
Okay, what are they?
Enaim, Shanaim, Yadayim, Vaglaim.
Eyes, teeth, feet, and hands. And what does it mean?
Hands and feet.
It's a riddle, but what about the hands and feet? Wait, you still
have all of those, you're rich.
Oh, just those. That's all you need. If you're missing a hand, though.
No, not just those.
Right, but we could be very grateful for what we already have, the blessing of having our eyes and our teeth and our hands. Sure. And there are people in the world who just, if they just had one more arm, they'd think, oh, that would be enough to be rich. Sure. And if we were paralyzed, we'd right away feel that way, right? So it really is just a state of mind. Okay, fine. I'll go on to the next Mishnah. Robin, you want to read?
Okay. Ben Azai Omer, Have Ratz Mitzvah Kala, Keba Chamura, Uboreach Min Havira. Sham Mitzvah Gorer Mitzvah, Havira Goreret Avira, Shechar Mitzvah Mitzvah, Uschar Avira Avira. Okay,
so the basic of it is that you should run to do a big mitzvah, just like a small mitzvah, just like a big mitzvah. So you think, oh, it's a small mitzvah. It's not so significant that I do it. But no, run just the same. And what's the reason? Mitzvah goreret mitzvah. A mitzvah causes another mitzvah. Avera goreret avera. And then the last part's the most interesting and most like a riddle. Shesechad mitzvah mitzvah. The reward for a mitzvah is another mitzvah. And the sechad of avera, avera. The reward for another avera, sin, is another sin. What does this mean? I find this is very, very powerful, I think. But what does it mean that the reward is another mitzvah?
I feel like I understand punishment as not really punishment, but just the result of your action. So let's say a child says he doesn't want to eat dinner, and the parent says, okay, fine, don't eat dinner, and that's the punishment because that's what the child incited almost. So when you're doing good deeds, it causes further good because you're putting yourself on a specific path, and it works both ways. It's the path that you're setting yourself up to, and the roadblocks you reach kind of interact with the ones that you've passed. Am I making sense?
Yeah, I love it. It's almost exactly what I'm thinking. Yeah, Mike,
Yeah, it's also, very similar, basically the same thing. I was thinking, like, if you're starting to like do mitzvot, like, I don't know, when you make one beracha, and then you're more likely to make another beracha, and both of them are rewarding. So like when you do the second beracha, it's rewarding, and you got the reward for doing the first beracha. And I don't know, so stuff like that.
The way I see it, the way I see it is that doing a mitzvah feels good. You get a good feeling. You feel like you're contributing to the world, and that will lead you to want to do more mitzvot. On the other hand, someone might say, "Oh, I've been doing all the, I'm a pretty good person, but I want to sin. If I just do this one little sin, it's okay because I'll be able to, bury it with a bunch of mitzvot." But it doesn't work like that, because once you sin, it can lead you to other sin. So you can never take any sin lightly. And the same thing with mitzvot. Never take any mitzvah lightly, because that can actually lead you on a path. You never know where it could take you. So
love it. Beautiful. So there's two things that I hear that you guys are articulating, and I'm going to just bring out, and I think it's awesome. One is that their mitzvot and avirot are contagious, right? Doing one leads you to get to do another one, and doing a sin gets you to do another sin. The easiest example is a diet. You're trying to do a diet, then you get a little hungry, you say, you know what, let me have one Hershey Kiss or something like that. That was just me yesterday. I was like, oh my God, I'm starving. I was looking in the cabinet, there was Reese's, I was about to eat it. If you eat one, it's bad enough that you ate one. It's not good for your body, right? It harms you. But what's the real consequence? That now you're going to eat another one, and you can eat it. If it was easy to just do one and it be enough, then fine, that's one thing. But the fact is that it becomes addictive, right? All sins and all good deeds. That when you start a positive habit, right, you pray once, more likely to pray the next day. Someone who prayed today has to have 95% more likelihood to pray tomorrow than someone who didn't pray today. It's so they're addictive and contagious. That's one. And then the second piece is that the sachad of a mitzvah. So this was the next level, that don't even think of olam haba, that's when you get rewarded, right? No. The reward is to get to be someone who gets to do mitzvah. It feels good, like Stephen said, to do mitzvah, right? And it feels bad to do averot. If you read Crime and Punishment, that's a book that's all about that, right? Esther Kishke read it. It's not on your bookshelf. That's a big book. But basically, the man commits a crime, and then the rest of his life, he's suffering as a result of the guilt. Meaning, what is the punishment for the crime? It's having to live with the crime that he committed. That alone is the punishment. Being the kind of person who do mitzvot is the benefit for doing mitzvot. And I think that's beautiful. It really makes you understand why you want to become someone who does mitzvot and who runs away from averot with really zest as fast as you can. All right, Samantha, you want to read the next one?
Sure. הוא היה אומר, אל תהי בז לכל אדם ואל תהי מחליק לכל דבר, שאין לך אדם שאין לו שעה ואין לך דבר שאין לו מקום.
Right, beautiful. So you don't want to be someone who teases any man or dismisses any man, or right, or someone, it says here, despises. And you don't want to be someone who takes an idea and says, "No, this is separate. That's not for me, that idea," right? Because there's no man who doesn't have his time. I like that. She'en lecha adam she'en lo sha'a ve'en lecha davar she'en lo makom, meaning every person has his moment or has this skill, right? We saw that you should learn from everyone. But even, I remember when I was younger, I'm still young, but I turned 29 a few days ago. When I was younger, I didn't realize that the people that you saw, you were going to keep seeing. You know, it's not like you see a guy once, I was like, oh, what's the big deal? In this current situation, I was the one who was his superior. So I didn't mistreat him. Maybe I would expose something I shouldn't expose or behave a little bit lax or something like that, right? Because, oh, he's a lower status than me. It doesn't matter. I could do whatever I want, right? But what I didn't realize is this is a much longer game than I realized that I was playing. I'm going to be seeing this guy when I'm 20, when I'm 30, when I'm 40, when I'm 50, when I'm 60, when I'm 70. Yeah, you can ask my grandpa, the same people that you saw around when you were younger, you continue to see them around. And there'll always be a moment where the tables will turn and where the dynamic will shift. And in the same way that you treat others, they're going to treat you. So we're in this for like a long time. You'd never think the kids in your class that you just saw casually, he was a nerd, he buttoned his top button, he didn't do anything, that you'd both be adults one day and you'd have to continue to interact with each other, right? So I think that that's something that you learn as time passes, that we're going to be seeing each other a lot. And so treat people the way that you'd want someone who remembers you forever, or as long as you live, to remember that, right? And that's going to be a theme. And same thing with an idea. So every even idea has its place. Don't dismiss something and say, oh, it's stupid, right? No, maybe right now it's not useful, right? One day it will be useful for you. So stay open and allow things to be in your sphere and in your ideas, and one day it'll be a useful idea. All right, next one. Should I, do we have any other readers that I didn't call on? Jill, I didn't call on you. I imagine you prefer it that way.
You want me to read?
I do, very much so.
Okay, where are we up to?
It'd be Levitas.
Rabbi Levitas, Ish Yebane, Nope Yivne.
Yavne. He's
Yavne.
from Yavne.
You really want me to do this?
I think you're doing well, and it's a good practice. If no one else gives you the chance.
Heve. Shefal Ruach Shetikvat Anosh Rima.
Beautiful. So very much you should be humble, because every man ends as worms. Okay, we'll come back to that idea. Go ahead.
Rabbi Yochanan ben Beroka Omer, Kol HaMechalel Shem Shamayim Beseter Nefra'in Mimenu Begalui Echad Shogeg Ve'echad Mezid Bechilul Hashem.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, great. You did great. The second idea is challenging. Does someone want to try to work through it? You could do it out. You could work through it out loud, because we could all. I had to read it like 4 times as I was preparing it, and still I don't know if I fully understand it. So it's a cool little puzzle. Anyone?
The truth always comes out in the end. If Has v'shalom, he says something bad, even though nobody hears it, somehow or another it's going to come out.
Right. Okay. Very nice. Good. But I think that there's more. There might be more there. Do you see? Does anyone see more there?
one other
What's
thing.
really interesting is this last Echad Shogeg Echad Mezid Chilul Hashem. Like this is all one, but I don't know. There's something there. I'm not grasping it, but that feels like the clincher, you know.
Something that Merle said earlier, where the reward and punishment kind of works like the result of your actions. So someone who profanes profanes the name of heaven in secret, it's kind of like someone who doesn't he won't be explicit about about his thoughts and feelings, but by his actions and slight subtle ways he really shows his true colors, that he doesn't respect God, so he's going to be punished as a result of his thoughts, because his thoughts are going to drive his actions in some way.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Beautiful. All right. So yeah, let's go through it carefully together, because it really is hard. So he says, anyone who's mehalel shem shamayim, he disgraces the name of heaven. I don't know exactly what that means, right? Baseted, in private, nifra'im mimenu begadol. This is what my grandpa said. Doing it in private, you still get punished. It comes out. So you think you're doing a sin in private. It's not a big deal, and right? And no one knows. What's the difference? No, they say it'll come out. Okay. Echad shogeg ve'echad mezid b'chilul Hashem. Like Merle pointed out, that's a weird thing. What does that mean? Even if you do it unintentionally, with chilul Hashem, you're still held accountable, right? So I think we have to really think about what chilul Hashem means, that it was something that you would still be accountable for, even b'shogeg, right? Even in seter and even in shogeg, right? So two double layers. You didn't do it in public, because chilul Hashem, I would think right away, chilul Hashem is all about in public. That would be my first instinct. This would be the last thing I would bring up, chilul Hashem, right? So I guess that's one thing. It's very important, right? So it's like turning the light on Shabbat in your house, maybe. That's right. And even if by mistake, I don't know what to make of it. I don't have an answer for you, honestly, but it's a challenging idea. It means that something about disgracing the name of Shamayim is something that you wouldn't do accidentally. You can never call it an accident. You try to say, it's an accident. No, it wasn't an accident. For some reason.
Like, if I could build on that,
yeah.
I feel like so much of Pirkei Avot, and even what we were reading a few pedeks ago, I don't know what they're called, the little vignettes. Like so much of this is about kovesh yitzra, or overcoming your nature, or building a new nature. And I guess when it comes to Chilul Hashem, there's no room for error. This is like an absolute critical must of overcoming your nature. So I guess even if you unwittingly profane the name, it's considered some type of avera, because you haven't taken that step to build a new nature, or overcome a certain yetzer.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. Exactly. Precisely said, right? And last time we did the person who curses God, remember? So that was a similar idea, right? About this idea of disgracing the name of God in some ways. It's something that maybe you have to armor yourself. It's something that can happen by mistake. Yeah, Steve, you wanted to chime in?
No, it's just something interesting. You said, like, something like Chilul Hashem is not something you could technically do by accident, because it's such a big thing. But I mean, just on a technical level, you could be like, let's say you stub your toe or something, you know what I mean? And the profanities start flying. That's something that's something that could happen. So I guess it's saying, like, you really have to watch yourself all the time, and you have to not fall into that trap, I guess.
Great, love it. All right, yeah, Grandpa. Yeah.
One quick example. Unfortunately, some people get used to using curse words. So even if nobody's around and you're cursing back and forth, sooner or later you're going to get angry talking to somebody or in public, and you're going to start using the same words because you're so used to using them. So that's Chilul Hashem, is a person that goes around talking like that.
Beautiful, love that. And right, so one is that it's going to come out in public, and then the other is that it still does damage in private. That's another part, right? Because you might think a sin that you do in private can't really do any damage, right? I'm doing it in private. It's no damage to it. You know, I cursed in my room, right? There's no damage. I should be able to curse as much as I want. I remember they would say, some of the rabbis, that they'd get up, they wouldn't want to get even naked in their room. They would put their blanket on, they'd wake up, quickly put the shirt on, and then slowly. So it's that kind of level where they're treating the private almost as if it's public, like Hashem is always watching, right? And that kind of idea that you could always be Mehalel Hashem. You know, it doesn't need to be an audience. The walls of your room see it. And here it says that it'll even come out in public, right? But, okay, great.
Wait, I have a comment.
Yes.
Because I was thinking about Kiddush Hashem, like the opposite, and how usually I think of it as like for other people, but you could really think about it for yourself too, and how it will impact you even when you do it privately.
Great, right, like the mitzvah, goded and mitzvah kind of idea also, right? So the same idea, that these are habits that we're building. Great. All right. The Ishmael ben Omed. This is very relevant to me. Halomed Torah menat lilamed must be keen biyadol ulmod ulamed. Period. So usually I end there, and the quote in my head, that's where it ends. That the person who learns in order to teach, the heavens help him learn and teach. So I always had that in my head. I made a video about art, and I said that that's why I do it. That by looking to share it, that's what allows me to even find the truth. Otherwise, I would never find it. You know, when I start to look to share beauty, that's what allows me to go outside and search for the beauty. So all day becomes me searching for beautiful things to share with you. So first of all, I'm very, very grateful for all of you for coming. Like I always say, first of all, this is definitely the best hour of my day. But that aside, it gives so much meaning to the rest of the hours of my day. And I'm able to look and try to have something to say for you. And that gives me, so anyway, for me, the pasuk ends there though. The Mishnah ends there, but they were only setting it up for the next level, which I should have known. But learning to do must be then we give him the ability to learn and teach also, but also to keep. And I think that that's a very, very crucial thing with Torah, and maybe an area where I personally could grow is that if I think more about where I'm learning this in order to implement it, to actually do it, then not only do you get the ability to teach it, because now you've done it and it's been impactful for you, but also you have the ability to actually do it. And you wouldn't get that if you were just learning it to teach. And to drill that point in, and then Rabbi Sadok Omed, Al ta'asem atara lehtgadel bahem. Don't make the Torah a crown to raise yourself with. Velo kardom lachbod bahem. And neither should you, the English doesn't say what that means. Oh, a spade with which to dig, right? To get yourself somewhere. So what's the relevance of this to the previous thing? Could anyone see the connection between this idea? Don't make it a crown. Don't make it a spade to dig with. Could anyone, does anyone see what the connection between that and the beginning of the Mishnah is? We'll continue and just think of that. Whoever benefits, or who uses, I think better than benefits, who uses the words, halaf, he lost. Oh no, that's, who derives worldly benefit. Oh, they should have learned. It's not good, their translation. He removes his life from the world. That's harsh. But who sees the connection between that and the beginning of the Mishnah?
Don't learn just for your ego, to be able to be proud and I know this, I know that, I'm teaching you this, I'm teaching you that. You have to learn also to be able to practice and not just for yourself pleasure, to make it that you're great.
Right. The person who learns in order to teach, right, which is the level below learning to do, is very, very vulnerable to being one of the people who's trying to use it to raise themselves up. Look, I could teach you the Torah. I have all of these magic I could show you, right? And so that's a risk that person runs. But the person who's learning just to use it for himself, not to practice, and he's obviously at less of a risk. And I think for me, this is a very important Mishnah that I've somehow in my youth misremembered to serve my own inclination. But really, the Torah, the beauty of it is that it's something that's practiced every day, that we can learn all we want. But at the end of the day, it's day in, day out. How do you behave? What are the decisions that you make in the given moments? You know, do you choose the right behavior, the behavior that's not so comfortable for you to choose? That always, when you don't want to choose it, it's against your nature. It could cost you financially, right? So those are the challenging moments. You know, it's you're angry, you want to strike it, you want to lash out. You see the person that you hate, like we said, you don't want to wake up early and pray. You still bring yourself to pray. You don't want to make the beracha every time. Right? So that's really what this is all about, is about the practice. And I think definitely something that I need to be reminded of, and maybe it'll be helpful for you guys to hear that also. All right, are we ready for the next one? Yes? Okay. So you guys would shake your heads. Okay, yes. All right. There you go. I got a couple of head shakes. All right. The Biyaseh Omer. Anyone who honors the Torah. So by the way, this is funny, right? They just said don't try to do it for your own ego. But by the way, if you do honor the Torah, you are going to be honored by every other person, right? So you're not supposed to do it as an atara, but you should know. And when I spoke to Joe Shami, he said very similar things. I thought this was interesting. So I was asking him about doing chesed, right? Why do you do it? And we had that conversation. And he was telling me, also, look, it was great for my business. You know, the person that ran Toys R Us announced that I was such a good person. And he was telling me, you know, and look, it was good for my business in this way. I was sick, and the doctor, he had cancer, right? He had cancer, and the doctor called and told him, listen, I got it. I'm going to take you. You don't have to. He was trying to get to see a great doctor. And he said, I got it. You tell your friends to stop calling me. I'm going to treat you. I see that you're a special man, you know, that people were bombarding the doctor to help him. So he told me those stories, and I thought it was a little strange that he would share those stories. You know, you thought he would say, look, chesed, I do it all l'shem shamayim. But he told me. So I asked him, why would you share that? And he said, because people should know if you do good things, it is good for you in this world, you know, and I think that's what it's saying here. It shouldn't be the only reason. He said, if I was a fraud, no one would respect it at all. I do it because I genuinely care about it. I'm just letting you know, by the way, you do see tremendous benefit. And I think the same thing from the Torah study. And it's, you know, that's what we're getting here. That it will be good for you in this world also.
If he really did it for his own ego, he probably wouldn't have shared that with you.
Right. Could be. Yeah. I think that too. But I thought that was interesting that he would share that. You know, it seemed like the opposite. If I did that, I wouldn't mention it. You know,
right?
You know, don't you get a lot of benefit? Oh, absolutely not. No, you know, this is all about the children.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Rabbi Ishmael ben Omer, hachoshech atzmo min hadin, the person who refrains, he puts himself in the dark when it comes to judgment. I'm not a judge. Porek mimenu eva, he separates himself from eva, hate, the gezel and theft, ushbuat shav, and lying, the hagas libo b'hora'a, but someone whose heart is filled with judgment. Shoter rasha, shoter, he's stupid, rasha, vegam ruach, vegas ruach, and he's arrogant. So this is interesting. What do you guys think this means? I think it could be interpreted in two different ways.
I think it's so applicable. I think it's super, super applicable. Like when I don't even think about it in like judicial judgment. I just think personally when you're speaking with another person or when you're watching.
So give us judicial judgment first, though, because that's like seems to be the peshat, right? Also, because eba shivuat shav, right? It's like it continues to use judicial language, like it doesn't use the judicial word judge once and then abandon it. Like the metaphor is strong throughout, right?
Right. I can't even give you an example because my mind immediately thinks about personal rather than something like structured.
Fine. So I'm going to call you in a second. So just the peshat of it, though, seems like deen, like if you're a judge, like don't be a lawyer, because lawyers end up hating and stealing and lying under oath, you know, or don't be the judge himself, right? And I'm just pointing out that those words, if we thought, so Merle's going to interpret it for us metaphorically as judging others, which I think it is interpreted that way. But it's interesting. I just thought that they used the attributes that are from judgment. So Merle, go ahead, go through it as a metaphor, though.
Well, it seems like when you're so quick to judge someone, or you base all these ideas off of a person's single action or single word, what you're doing is really robbing yourself of what could be a wonderful experience or a wonderful person or something that you could really learn from. So rather than accepting that people do wrong things sometimes or kind of quieting the narrative in your brain, you're robbing yourself of something that could be great.
Gotcha. Okay, so could someone help, though, reconcile my question, which is, it seems like it's designed to be read metaphorically, like Merle's saying, but the words that he, eva, hate, fine, that I think works, right? Theft, and shavuat shav, super Could someone reconcile that metaphorical interpretation with the judicial terms? Yes, Stephanie?
Well, I mean, I feel like when you're saying that you're ridding yourself from judgment, it's also like, I feel like robbery still falls right into place. When you're jealous of somebody, you're more inclined to want to take what's theirs, and to take something that's not yours. So whether you're robbing by like just lying about money, or you're robbing, it might not be you actually physically are taking something, but it could be you're actually stealing whatever it is. And shvuat shav, false swearing, is just your language, like the way you talk, lying, cheating, all of that falls into, I feel like, this category. So I feel like it's just very permanent.
Beautiful, yeah. So the best example I have, so there's two kinds of judgments, right? There's the light judgment. Oh, she's weird. Oh, he's cool. Oh, I don't like him, right? Okay, there's that judgment, which we do as humans, like almost instinctually. You just go through Instagram and either you press like or you don't press like, right? So right away you make a judgment. Do I like this picture or do I not, right? Then in your head, you also think a lot of other things that you don't share, like, oh, she posted a picture like that. Wow, she's like this, or, oh, he posted that. Oh, right? So, okay, those judgments are surface, but those judgments are a root of what becomes larger issues where, let's say you're in, you could ask anyone who stole from his partner in business, let's say, right? Or lied under oath, right? You ask him, why did you do that? That's not the right thing to do. I would think 90% of them would say, no, it was justified. He was doing this, and that. For years, he wasn't working hard at all while I came in every day and worked like an animal. And he, this and that. And I'll have a whole judgment. He makes this whole case where he's the judge. And only because he's the judge and he has the ability to decide that the other one was wrong, so now he's allowed us lie, he could steal, you could hate him. It's justified, right? He has this whole long judgment. So you'll have that. Any person that cheats on their wife, right? They're going to have a whole story about why it's allowed, right? So it's all from this judgment where they think, oh, I'm the person who gets to decide, who gets to be the judge, the jury, and the executioner, and be the person who puts in justice. And if you have a lot of judgment, then you're going to be at Asha because you think that and you're going to behave like you could do whatever you want, and you're also stupid and arrogant. So I think that's good. You could think of any time that someone does something unethical, and they probably have this story, this judgment, where they are actually the person administering justice, right? That's what they'll think. They were making the scales even. Scales were tilted, and if not for their justice, right? But we learn from the Torah that divine justice is an objective justice, the justice that we wouldn't take into our hands. It's the God, Hashem is the just. So let the world settle the rules, and he'll suffer from his averah, right? You don't have to be the one to inflict them upon him. Okay, great. Hu haya omed, al tehi dan yachidi. So you can't judge. She'en dan yachidi ela echad. Judge not alone, for none may judge alone save one. So the beginning fits beautiful with what we just said, right? That don't be a lone judge. There's only one judge, right? And that's God. And don't say, accept my view, for they are free, but not you. I don't know what to make of that. Thank God Michael Franco and Mofo, I think we have extra arms, just jumped in. Did anyone help us with this? We don't know what to do with this one. This is challenge.
I have an interpretation of and say not accept my view, for they are free, but not you.
Yeah.
There's a it's basically if somebody thinks they know what is true, then they're like really not free, because like somebody who's sure what is true is usually like the most confused. And I feel like when you're not free, if you're the one who's saying like mine is the only view, then that means that the other person who's trying to give you a different view is actually probably more free than you in a way.
There are some things that are objectively true. Like someone who doesn't believe in gravity, are they free? I don't know.
Right. But in
No, so I don't think
there's like a debate where somebody.
We're not gonna let it get derailed. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I think it's talking more about. Put that into Tibeli's hands, and we're gonna be here till tomorrow morning.
I won't talk about gravity. That's fine. It's
fine, but I think it has to do about the Dan Yahidi also, right? That when you're saying accept my what I have to say, it's my judgment. Accept my judgment, right? And that's not true. Your judgment is the thing that there's only one judge, right? Mofo or Michael, do you want to jump in here? And then I think I came up with an idea.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like in that sense where you have this knowledge and you're so concrete in it, you are no longer free in that sense that you're looking for something. But they are free and they're not ready to accept your view just yet. And you have to have that patience with them and let them explore it on their own. Nice. Like I was thinking about this idea today, like if you could talk to your child itself and tell him like, would you tell him to avoid certain mistakes and all these things? And I'm like, I can't. What can I tell him? Because he needs to learn them for himself. I can't tell him, accept this. I can only push him in the right direction.
Yeah, I was watching a father the other day, and he was teaching his kid to skateboard. Told him, don't hit a rock. And if you hit a rock, you're going to fly forward. And when you're on it, you're going to make sure your weight is in the heels. And I was like, how did you learn about rock wheel? He said, oh, well, it happened to me. So, okay, so you don't think he's going to know what you're talking about till it happens to him? So, yeah, beautiful, mofo. Okay, cool. I think we can move on here. And I think also, yeah,
One more thing. If you make a wrong call, you're judging all by yourself. If you make a wrong call, you're guilty. So you're not free, but they are because they're not making the.
Nice, good. I think with judgment, it's something that I really learned more and more about. So you have stories about people, right? And they seem like you're really good at it. You know, when you have that story, you think, all of you think you have me figured out entirely, right? You have this whole story about who I am. I'm curious as to what it is, right? And same with me for you, right? You ask someone, oh yeah, I know this guy, his mother probably told him that, and he did this and that, right? We all have these stories about each other, crazy stories. Somewhere we're pretty good. We have a decent eye. We make good calls from time to time, right? Also, we don't know a fraction of what there is to know about the other person. We're not even close. We're going to be off very far, very often also, right? And so, I remember something happened the other day. My friend, someone who I was very, very close with, did something where I thought he did something that was horrible for me and towards me. And I was distraught. I was like, and it was just as COVID hit. So the last thing I needed was more bad news about humanity. And I was like, oh my God, people are terrible. They'll do anything for an edge. This confirms everything that I knew about humans. They really are they just go for this is predictable. I can't believe I didn't think I knew this. Came up with this whole story. And then I told my wife, and she goes, no, Morris, he obviously didn't know. Then just tell him, and he'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry. He obviously didn't know. Like, yeah? She goes, Avi, 100%. He had no idea. I was like, oh, okay. So I called and I said it, and he didn't know, So all of a sudden I had come up with this whole elaborate tale. I had a whole judgment about not only him, but all of humanity. My judgment was about. It wasn't enough to judge him. I had now judged all of you, everyone that I knew, so Mofo's cracking up at me. So listen, we can't judge. We all judge, and it's something that we should realize. There's one judge. Let God, leave the judging to God. Hold aside. If they're guilty, they're not guilty. If they need to be punished, they don't need to be punished. Their sin is gonna. They live with their sin, like we said earlier with the crime and punishment idea. Right? You don't need to be the person that puts in the justice. Once you think you could judge, now you're the rasha. You're gonna end up using it as a means to be crooked towards yourself. So beautiful. All right. Anyone who keeps the Torah from a place of poorness, so one day he will keep it from oshed. I hope this is true. And I hope I just keep the Torah, and one day I'll be very rich. But this seems to me like it may be wishful thinking. But again, if we define Oshed the way that we did earlier, that Ezehu Ashir Hasameach Bechalko, okay, so then it could possibly be true. But I also do think that if you, right, because we still do know that there's Sadiq Vidalo. We're gonna get to that in a second. So maybe I'm, all right. Oh, this is my favorite Mishnah. This I really love Petkavod. I hope it shows. I think we should continue doing it because this is epic.
Wait, you flew through the end there. Can we just see the end of that one?
It's the rich man. If he's not keeping it, he's losing all his wealth anyway. So don't even be jealous about him. But I think also, like we said, that Oshed is really a state of mind. And if he's not keeping the Torah, again, he suffers. You don't know. You think, oh, he has the beautiful house. What did he get rewarded for? Was he learning Torah? You don't know. Again, you don't judge. He'll have it. Everyone will have in their proportions. And if you keep the Torah, one day you will be rich, if not only in thought. Do very little business. I agree with it. Be very humble. If you neglect Torah, what you're going to do is you're going to attract a bunch of betelim. Your circle is going to be a circle of betelim, people that waste. It has much reward to give onto you. So hopefully I'm putting a little into the Torah. I have all of you around me already. I'm attracting the right people around me. I'm just by mine. And same with you, I hope. That whatever amount of your willingness to learn Torah is bringing a circle of those people into your life. The part about doing very little business, it doesn't seem like many people around us agree with. I strongly agree with it, but it remains to be seen if I'm going to be able to sustain. I still do work all day, but as an ideal, I would prefer that, you're supposed to do very little business. I remember I spoke to someone who said, yep, I learn half the day and I work and I could still support myself. The second you put your foot down and say, this is what I'm doing, you'll be able to do it. And I think that's true. I think one of the things with me is I'm insistent. I insist that I'm going to be able to learn a good amount. I insist. And hopefully I'm going to be able to figure out how to support myself in less of the time with, mema et be'esek. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I love this. I think on what you're saying, when you have that motivation, you use the other time much more wisely. Like I remember, it's a kind of a dumb thing, but when the Mets were in the World Series, I got my best grades I ever got because I had to make time to watch the games. And I made sure that every piece of work was done so I wouldn't have any distraction. So if Torah was as important to you as that, and it should be, then you will make the time. And then on top of that, I think that if your job is Torah infused, like you're a teacher, like I think that is a Torah infused job. So I think you're always in Torah. That's my.
Yeah, but business is nasty.
Business is business.
You hear me talk about business a different time. I'm not very fond of it, especially not in this country. But okay. What do we have here? This one we could skip. This one, this is a nice one. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Heve Zahir Betamud. Shishigigat Talmud Ola Zadon. For an error in study counts as a deliberate sin. That's a wild thing. That when you twist your studies, which is very easy to do as you study, you start twisting it to make it self-serving, that counts as a sin. It's very scary. It's a scary idea. But I think that what this is saying is you all know the truth inside. You know what the true learning is, and you're held responsible for that. If you start lying, if a Muslim terrorist starts lying and saying, yeah, I blow myself up and that gets me into the afterlife, no, he distorted it. He couldn't have possibly heard that message. He had to know that that's not true. And the same with you. If your message tells you if I dress this way, then I'm better than everyone else, and that's what I learned, nope, that's a sin on you. If you learn in a way that says, oh, I don't need to do anything for the world. I could sit on a mountaintop alone and not make the world better. But I would say, nope, you have to be able to know better. You're capable of knowing better, and you have to hold your Torah study to that level. The scary thing, I never liked this when I was younger, because it's like, that's not fair. I'm coming to learn. I thought you told me that was a great mitzvah. Now you're telling me, nope, it's a very dangerous thing. I remember there's another one that says if you forget one word of your Torah study, it's like you destroyed the world or something like that. It's like, so I'm signing me out. I'm done, man. I can't continue to learn anymore. Why am I putting myself at risk for these constant sins? But your Torah study, you need to do very carefully, very, very important. You have to really think about it. You have to, because once you get your Torah study wrong and you start coming up with the wrong ideas, and now they're justified by your Torah study, now you put yourself in a really, really dangerous spot. Even more dangerous than the guy that didn't learn, maybe. Does anyone have something to layer on that?
I do, but it's not fully formed. Someone will go first.
Oh, no, thank you. I was saying I have a few thoughts, but I'm going to use the second half also.
Fine. I like that idea. We have to use the second half. Thank you, Ezra. So there's three.
You want me to just?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you do it. Go. You do it. Yes.
No, I mean, to me, you take the whole thing as a whole. In terms of them talking about Rabbi Yehuda saying, just scrutinize your study. Obviously, as a kid, that could feel threatening, but they want you to try to remain objective and not use it for your own personal use. Don't turn Torah for your own personal use. Fine. But the end is the most interesting, I think. I'm actually interested in hearing what you say, but I'll tell you what I think. The crown of Torah, so that's objective, kind of. The crown of priesthood, I would think that's something like diligence, just be strict in your observance, even though you can obviously elaborate on kehuna. The crown of royalty, malchut, I don't think we have such a good concept of that anymore. But most interestingly, the crown of a good name supersedes them all. So this is basically just saying there are two ways to look at it, but I would say the quality of your relationships is the most important thing. So it doesn't mean you have to have 1 million friends or two, but just, how genuine are you going to be, or how genuine can you be with all people? And that will really tie in everything else. Because if you can connect to people well, or truthfully, rather, and you can deal with people truthfully, then you kind of can have everything. I think that's what that's saying. But there's more to it. But
I love it. I'm very lucky with the group that I have. This is not a normal performance. Everyone speaks, and I'm like, oh, I wish that this was their class. They should just take over. Yeah, you guys are great. And I think that was very, very good. First of all, I love the way you did kehuna as not the kehuna like we did in the class, me and Michael Franco, right? But that it's no, kehuna is your own priesthood, your own malchut. And I like that you said that that's something we don't have so much of, but that there's something that you could have, your own malchut. And then keter shem tov, that I think you pulled in a direction that I think that you wanted to, but I hear that. But a good name.
Well, I want to hear your take on that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, keter shem tov is a good name, meaning it's good. Whatever the people are going to look at you and say, oh, he's a good guy, that's good. It's very simple. It's very easy. You know how you're going to behave that would get you a good name. You don't have to, your Torah can't even get twisted. If it got twisted to a place where it's going to make you not have a Shem Tov, then already, it's a mistake.
Yeah.
It's immediately a mistake. So it's so very obvious. The guy who blows people up, does he have a good name? No, he's going to have a terrible name, right? So, it's very obvious. Don't overthink this stuff. The Torah study ultimately needs to yield you to have a good name. Yeah, Tabali, go ahead.
Yes, this is very a cool coincidence. Today, my friend Isaac Cassin's his grandmother passed away a few days ago, and they did a rayat, and Rabbi Mansour mentioned this exact pasuk in the thing about her passing away, saying how she had an amazing reputation, and how even after you pass away, like the reputation, the keter that supersedes it, he interpreted it as saying like it even outlives you, like it goes on forever, which was it's crazy that happened today. I was in that or whatever it's called. I don't know if that.
It's interesting. Also, I want to take it in another direction.
Yeah.
That first, it's saying that it's so important that you study Torah perfectly right, and then it said like Torah is like a crown. It's like this royalty thing. You can't mess with it. And then it's Torah, Kuna, and then one more. What was the last one? Royalty. Like you can't. Those are crowns. Like you have to respect. And then, but the good name is more respectful over all of that. So to say that you shouldn't make an error in a good name, your own good name and the good name of others, I think you have to. Be
I feel very much also like it prioritized the relationship aspect at the end. It feels.
I'd like to touch on this for a second. I think what does a keter represent? A crown represent? It really, more than anything, represents power, power over people. So the crown of Torah is like, let's say, a rabbi or someone in a high position, and and the crown of priesthood is, let's say, Kohen Gadol or something in the Mishkan, and then the crown of royalty today, you could say, is like politicians. They all have a certain power over people. They're moving a lot of pieces around. You might even say a wealthy businessman has a lot of power. But to tie it into the first part is that really, if you're doing things for your own gain and people don't respect you as a person and they don't respect your name, then it's useless. It's not as good as someone who has a good name. People are going to follow, even if he's let's say a poor person or has no power whatsoever. If he has a good name and a good reputation and has a good impact on people, then people are going to listen to what he has to say, and they're gonna go for what he's all about. So I think.
One question. Why does it say there's 3 crowns and then they name 4?
Yeah, I noticed that also.
Right.
I think a crown represents glory more than power, and the person who has that is glorified. Person who has a good name is glorified by the people who know him, who know.
I have a question. Do you think that we in our community today that we maybe put too much of an emphasis? It's almost like the opposite. We put too much of an emphasis on the way other people see us and on our reputation. And I think that could also be a negative thing, worrying too much about your Shem Tov and not worrying enough about just your inward life and your relationship with God directly.
I think that that's an interesting idea, and I think that comes back to I think that Judaism's emphasis is that it is a religion where you're doing good for other people. I think the part that you're pointing out of worrying too much about what other people think is in the Keter Torah, Keter Keuna, Keter Malchut. You want to be the one who's dressed in royalty. That's the wealth, right? You want to be someone who seems to be pious. You want to be someone who's learned, right? But the Keter Shem Tov, I think, is a different thing, Shem Tov. I don't think it means that everyone, wants to be you or is jealous of you, right? There's a person who has Keter Malchut who everyone's jealous of. There's a person who has Keter Torah who everyone wants to be like, or Keter Keuna, right? But the Keter Shem Tov could be the guy who he's on the side. Just happens to be. If you ask anyone about him, they say, "Oh, that guy, unbelievable man. Yeah, he's just a great person." And that I don't think comes from a huge obsession with the way that people see you, but more from just the cognizance in every interaction, like Ezra was saying, and in every relationship where people leave and they're like, "Oh, this guy did a lot of good by me." And at the end of the day, whatever the people do think of you, and what they genuinely think in their heart of hearts, not what they say or they that I think that really is a way to evaluate your life.
It's like it says in Pirkei Avot somewhere else, someone who runs after kavod runs away from him, but someone who runs away from kavod will run after him. So
beautiful, nice, yeah, that's cool. And then we all have that thing that you're chasing, right? Or even emet, that when you're chasing it runs away, and you have to only when you step away from it. Yeah, Mofo, go ahead.
No, I'm trying to think of myself. I mean, another line's ringing in my head, and it's Tov, Shem Tov, Mishem Tov, Tov Yom Mutov
Miyom.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, Tov Shem, Mishem and Tov.
It's a good name. It's good. It's better than good oil, and the day of your death is better than the day of your birth. And in that sense, like, right. And that's my own interpretation of it. It's like that's our job in this world. Like, hopefully, when we die, we made a good name for ourselves, not for others, but for us. We've made our name better than good oil, which would be like money or other kind of material things we amass. But we established the name that we got as good.
All right, beautiful. Guys, you guys are unbelievable. I very, very, very much appreciate all of you taking the time. I know that there's other things to do, other things to watch. That's more raunchy. They show more skin and whatnot. I know I didn't do any of that, but really, I love you guys. I love that you take the time, and I think it says something about who all you are, and I'm very grateful. So I will see you all again. Hopefully next week we'll do one more Pirkei Avot. I think we had too much fun with it, unless I choose something else. And then we'll move it to Shavuot together. We're ready to celebrate the beautiful Torah and the words of our ancestors. And one thing I'll leave with this. The fact that we have this self-help book written by our ancestors, I think that that's unreal, because really it shows that the Torah is designed to give you a good life. You think about anything else, but at the end of the day, these great people, the Yehuda, the ones who were thinking about all these other things, they also knew about this, and this was their goal for us. And when you see that you have a lineage of this self-help program that they've been running and testing and checking to see if it worked and looking at the results over not 5 years, not 10 years, but hundreds of years, that's really a special thing to have. So we should really be grateful also for our lineage, our ancestry that brought this to us, that made it that this book is here for us, and that we could all get in a room and study this together. All right. Have a good night. I love you. And I'll see you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maz.